Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. One thing I'd like to talk about this week kind of goes along with another video I did, comparing two different crankbaits, when and where and why to throw those. I want to talk about spinnerbaits, and in particular spinnerbait blades. When do you throw, let's say, a single Colorado, and then when do you go from this to like a tandem willow leaf spinnerbait? You'll notice both these are the same color. I just really want to dive off on when you go from this bait over here to this bait. So let's get started with it.
From the top of the mountain, yeah, we fought our way up to the top of the mountain. Yeah, we fought our way up to the top of the mountain. Yeah, we ever coming down from the top of the mountain.
Just in particular, this bait right here is a 1/2 ounce Berkeley single Colorado. You'll notice it's got a really long hook shank in it. It's one thing I love about it. I don't ever have to put a trailer hook on it. But I throw this bait like the perfect scenario is like that 46 to say 56 degree water situation, water temperature situation, darker, dingier water. Man, I caught a fish just the other day, this winter, in my pond that still had ice around it. So that water was upper 30s, low 40s at best, on that bait. And that's what makes this bait shine is because with that big single flat Colorado blade, I'm able to reel it really, really slow. You can just crawl that thing down along the bottom of your body of water. That blade's just oscillating, making a lot of vibration, a lot of commotion, and it's just a bait you can cover water with in that really cold situation. It's a bait that you can throw in that dingier water situation. So for me, it shines. You can't really cover water with a jerkbait very fast, and a jerkbait a lot of times is a lot cleaner, clearer water bait. What do you do or what do you throw when you got that dirty, dingy, cold water? That's the bait that you throw, is that one right there. In particular, this is a 1/2 ounce. That's a great bait to have. I use this 1/2 ounce anytime I'm triggering that water that's, say, a foot deep to 3 or 4 foot deep. That's when this bait shines. Now I will go to let's say a 3/4 ounce when I get like 5 to 8 feet of water. That bigger head, heavier bait, I can keep it down on the bottom, really crawl it along. And then, my favorite bait, when it gets deeper than that, I don't have one right here, is a 1 ounce bait. We make a 1 ounce that man, now you're getting that bait down to that 8, 12 foot of water, which you can't do with a 1/2 ounce or a 3/4 ounce, and banging it on the bottom of those rocks. So that's when that bait shines. That's where and why I use it in those dingier water situations. When I say dingy water, my dingy water might be different than yours. So obviously, super muddy water, you're never going to be fishing out in 12 feet of water. You're going to, use a 1/2 ounce bait when you got this much visibility, just a very little, that's going to be that 1 to 3 foot of water. Then as you get like a foot visibility, that's when you're going to get out there in that 3, 4, 5 feet of water. Let's say you get a 1.5 foot visibility. That's when you can venture out deeper, that 6, 8, 9, 10, 12 feet of water. So keep that in mind. These are baits. This is a bait that I'm throwing. 2.5 foot visibility is about the bottom edge of my visibility of when I'm throwing this single Colorado spinnerbait. Colors, we'll get into colors at the end. I'll get into rod and reels at the end. Now, we determined when to throw this bait. Now, let's talk about when do you throw the tandem willow. Well, it's right after that. To me, the next bait that I'm going to have tied on is when that water climbs, that 56, 57, on up to that mid 60 range. That's when this bait shines for me. Now, to be honest, a tandem willow could be a bait you could throw the rest of the year. But as the water clears up, that's when I'm going to go to a double willow, something that moves quicker. But for the most part, day in, day out, something you could write down, the tandem willow, that's going to be a time that 56 to mid 60 degree water temperature. That's when that bait shines for me, because with two blades on it, it's a bait that you have to reel a little bit faster. It's a bait that creates more buoyancy, more lift by having 2 blades. So it's going to be higher in the water column at the same speed. You got to reel it faster. It's just a bait that's when it transpires to that those blades. I don't know how else to say it. Again, the water clarity, it's going to be a little bit clearer bait for me also. You know, it's going to be a 6, 8, 10-inch visibility on to that 2.5 foot. It's not a bait that I'm going to throw a lot, you know, in that 2, 3-inch visibility, that super muddy water. I'll probably still stick to that single Colorado. Now that we determined, you know, this is the water temperature, you know, of this bait right here. Again, this is a bait that's going to be a little bit higher in the water column. I'm keeping that single Colorado down on the bottom a lot of times. We're now that 56 to 65, 66 degree water. Those fish are feeding up a little bit more, not on the bottom like they would with that single Colorado. That's why this bait shines, because it rises more in the water with 2 blades in it. Now let's get into colors. Day in, day out, if you had to choose one color, chartreuse and white, guys, it's a given. Don't ever not have chartreuse and white. If you don't know what to tie on, tie chartreuse and white on. I mean, it's just a great color all around, no matter what the watercolor is. Another favorite color of mine, just a variation of chartreuse and white, is one that's got some old school blue in it. I love that color. It's just a good dingy water, cold water color for me. If I had to choose a couple others, you know, a new spinnerbait color that you're going to see a lot of, you're going to see a lot of people catch fish on this bright orange color. It's just going to be a really good color early in the spring when those fish are really, you know, keying in on crawdads. That's going to be a great bait, you know, cold water, springtime situation. Another favorite of mine early in the spring is that hot slaw. It's got some red in the back. We all know how deadly red can be, you know, in the springtime. We've done some videos of when you see red on fish's mouths, it's time to start throwing red. I like to incorporate this spinnerbait color right there, you know, in the spring. In general, all those colors right there, that's that 2 foot and under, you know, water clarity, darker days, sunnier days. Now, when that water gets clearer, over 2 foot, you know, around 2 foot, that's when I go with more transparent colors. You know, this one here is called shad spawn. It's got strands in it that you can see through. It's just more of a clear water bait. Works really well, you know, when you get to that 2 foot, 2.5 foot visibility. As far as blades, guys, you know, I don't get off into colors of blades a lot, just day in, day out on your normal days. You know, if you want, you know, if you wanted to nail me down on it, you know, silver gold is a great all around color. It just works great. If you want to take a step further, yes, this blade combination is going to be for more cloudy days, more dingier water, where you go with like a gold silver. That's going to be a sunnier day, a cleaner, clearer water situation. And then you ask about painted blades. You know, in general, painted blades for me, like especially a white painted blade, that's that cloudy days, those dark days, no matter what the watercolor is. You know, painted blades like this orange blade is going to be a dingier water blade. Again, a darker water, darker day color. One other thing that I like to keep in my arsenal is just a black spinnerbait. Like, no matter, you know, if you got that real clean water, a black spinnerbait to me is a great bait to throw on those days that it's really dark and storming and cloudy. Like, man, that's when I'll pull this bait out. I've got 2 or 3 of them in my arsenal. I've had phenomenal days on a black spinnerbait when things get really dark and drengy and you shouldn't even be out there fishing. You know, those really rainy days that we all have in the spring. That's when I pull that bait out right there. It works really, really well. Last, I want to talk about the setups. They're really similar. I'm going to throw these baits most of the time on 20-pound Bass Pro fluorocarbon. You got really good sensitivity with it. It, you know, doesn't have a lot of stretch. I'm going to throw them on a 7'1" medium heavy action rod. It's just the rod I use. It's just a Bass Pro Platinum rod. You've seen lots of videos that I've done with it. And it's going to be on a slower gear ratio reel. A 6/8-to-1 Platinum reel is what I use. Find something in that 6-to-1 gear ratio reel. That's what I suggest. You know, something that's slower. If you try to throw those baits on an 8-to-1, you're going to get a lot less bites. I don't know how else to say it. You're just going to get a lot less bites. But that's the setup I use on those. Guys, I hope this helps you. You know, that's the basic of when I'm going to go from that single Colorado over to that Tandem Willow and some of those colors and the situations that I use them. It's that time of year that we're all going to be throwing spinner baits, and it's a fun bite. There's nothing like, I've always said, you know, reeling a spinner bait in and they come flush the water off of it. It's just one of the funnest bites there is in bass fishing, short of a topwater bite. So hope these tips help you guys, and good fishing.